Here we go. Afternoon. Yep, afternoon. Could I have approval of the minutes of June 22nd, please? Second, please. All in favor? Anybody opposed? So moved. Okay, next. Committee work plan, sir.
We have a change to the committee work plan. We'll be including the bus procurement into the work plan on a regular basis. The first review by the independent engineer will be in November.
Committee completions and update, please.
Okay, I would just like to point out that in the commitments and completions report, at the end of the report, we've included now capital program funding information to round out the information that had been provided, that is provided in the finance book, but has not been provided in CPOC to date.
Any comments? Any questions? New York Transit presentation.
I'll do the commitments and completions. Yeah, okay. MTA committed $2.06 billion through June, and 63% of the planned commitments. New York City Transit committed $1.16 billion, or 84% of its plan. This is due to delay in awarding the rehab of the 5 Pelham stations for $122 million until July. The White Plains Road, East 180th Street Station rehab and ADA for $81 million, and Mott Avenue, Far Rockaway recovery station rehab and ADA for $30 million until September, pending CPRB approval. Long Island Road committed $110 million, or 74% of its plan. This is due to a delay in awarding the Jamaica Control fit-out for $6 million until July, and the Junction Boulevard Bridge abutment repair for $14 million until July. Metro North committed $112 million, or 82% of its plan. This is due to delayed award of GCT facility rehab for $18 million, and west of Hudson locomotives for $7 million until August. Capital Construction committed $607 million, or 43% of its plan. This is mostly due to delay in awarding the East Side Access 44th Street demo and Park Avenue entrance for $44 million. The Harrell Structures Part 2 for $51 million. And 2nd Avenue Subway 86th Street Station Utilities relocation for $51 million until July. East Side Access Queens Board Tunnels for $490 million until August. And Northern Boulevard Crossing for $61 million until September. Bridges and Tunnels committed $14 million, or 18% of its plan. This is due to delay in award of the rehab of the RFK Building 104 for $67 million until August. MTA Bus committed $17 million, or 45% of its plan. This is due to delay in award of the new roof and ventilation systems at Far Rockaway for $5 million until August, the new roof and ventilation systems at Eastchester Maintenance Building for $3 million, and the parking lot at Baisley Park for $10 million until December. MTA PD has not committed $2.5 million for K-9 facility, pending an MOU with Metro North in July. Completions. MTA completed $1.4 billion through June. This is 69% of the planned completions. New York City Transit completed $972 million, or 90% of its plan. Long Island Road completed $82 million, or 70% of its plan. This is due to delay in award of the composite third rail project for $20 million until August, and Valley Stream Station rehab for $6 million until September. Metro North completed $21 million, or 89% of its plan. This is due mostly to delay in completion of coach overhauls for $3 million until July. Capital Construction completed $33 million, or 6% of its plan of $521 million. This is due to delay in completion of the South Ferry structural box for $291 million, the Battery Place vent plant enclosure for $25 million, South Ferry Terminal Station finishes for $147 million, and Battery Place vent plant equipment for $10 million until September. Bridges and Tunnels completed $289 million, and 98% of its plan.
Thank you. Any questions? Any comments? Okay. Next. We have a presentation. Gentlemen, sirs, you ready?
Yep.
Hit it.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Ashok Patel. I'm the Program Manager for Line Equipment Shops, Yards and Facilities Program in CPM. And today I have with me Ken Pierce, Senior Director of Capital Programs, Department of Subways, as well as John Pantelidis, who is the Chief of Program Controls, CPM. We'll be presenting results of quantitative risk assessments that we recently performed on Jackson Avenue fan plant. This particular fan plant was awarded in June of this year, and this is one of the first project MTA had awarded under American Recovery and Reinvestment Act. Before I start the presentation, I would give you a quick brief as to why we need fan plants. As you know, subway tunnels have natural ventilation. For normal operation, day-to-day, natural ventilation is sufficient. However, during emergency conditions, when we have fire or smoke in the tunnel, we do need emergency ventilation, and that's provided by fan plant. Before we get into specifics of Jackson Avenue fan plant, I would like Mr. Ken Pierce to give a brief overview of the program. Ken?
Good morning. The FAN program is a part of a system that protects our customers and personnel and allows them to evacuate safely when we have smoke emergencies. Fires can occur anywhere in the subway system, and they are the main cause of smoke emergencies. When a smoke emergency occurs, we try to get our customers out very quickly. This is done by controlling the spread of the smoke with the use of fans and providing a quick means of egress through our emergency exits and our subway stations. To address smoke emergencies, our safety strategy is to reduce the amount of fires and to continually rehabilitate our fan plants and emergency exits. This is a picture of a fan plant that has been rehabilitated. There are 196 fan plants located throughout the New York City transit system. Fan plants are positioned underground, and each fan plant can contain up to 8 fan units. This plant has obviously 2 units, and it depends on the amount of fan power that's needed at the location. This is a picture of a damper system. The dampers control and direct the airflow so that fans can protect multiple segments of subway tunnels. A subway tunnel segment is really the area between the 2 subway stations. Fans that protect multiple segments of tunnels are among the highest priority fans in our rehabilitation program. This is a typical emergency exit. You see on the left the exit to the street, and on the right the exit from the tunnel. There are over 530 emergency exits in our system. We have performed surveys and completed 125 of the worst condition exits over the past 2 capital programs. This graph represents a record of fire incidents in the subway over the past 12 years. If you look at the high peak year of 1997, there were 2,519 exits, and in 2008 there were 1,266, almost half. These fire incidents have been trending downwards severely. Fires are the primary cause of trash is a primary cause of fires in our system, and we have been able to mitigate fires by focused and increased maintenance and cleaning schedules in locations where trash accumulates heavily.
Is there any metric on fires in our system as compared to fires in other systems around the country that would indicate, where 1266 kind of ranks, or whether that's a happy number? I know it's happy compared to where we were, but
Right.
Yeah, I haven't seen such a thing, but I certainly can ask Cheryl Kennedy, the Vice President for System Safety, to see if we can pull an analysis like that together.
I hate to go to a whole lot of trouble. Maybe I could ask it a different way. Are fires considered to be a major issue in systems nationwide? Let's say Chicago, say L.A., or Washington.
Well, fires can be very, very dangerous. I mean, smoke conditions in subway tunnels, and generally speaking, everybody is is very conscious of that. Some systems, I think, are BART, I know in particular, has a very advanced exhaust system. But it would be interesting for us to do a comparison like that.
What?
Do you know how many of those fires have actually required the use of an emergency exit? My sense is that when you have fires, you tend to, you ride through it in the train and you get off at the next stop, guys, or something of that kind.
Yeah, most of those, Mark, are classified as low or medium, and fires in which we actually have to evacuate people by pulling into the next station are comparatively rare. Fires in which we have to evacuate people through the emergency exits are very rare.
Do you have any idea of the number per year that you might actually have used the emergency exits for?
I can get that for you. I'm not sure that in the last year I remember a single incident.
Let me ask on the fire planes. Just two questions. When there is a fire on any given station or in the tunnel, wherever, how is the public notified that there is a fire? Is there an alarm that sounds? Is there a sequence of bells that go off? That's part one. Part two, do we ever have a fire drill like in a public building? The buildings throughout New York City require monthly fire drills or whatever the case may be. Is there anything in place for that? And how do we move the handicap that are in wheelchairs or whatever through what you just showed me, that, a 350-pound guy is going to have a very hard time getting through? What's in place for those three things that I've asked you?
Yeah, the evacuation of handicap, particularly wheelchair people, is extremely difficult, and that relies upon the crew and people that respond to the fire to take care of that. We actually have, if any of the board members would like to attend it, we have a simulation in Coney Island Yard where all the crews and all the supervisors are trained, and basically what happens is you have people playing passengers who are sitting in the cars. Obviously the cars are fixed. We fill the tunnel with smoke, and then they are required to do what they would do in an actual fire and an actual evacuation. In terms of alarms in the either on the cars or in the stations, to my knowledge, we don't do that. The alarm basically goes out on the 6 wire, and then after it basically gets to the control center on the 6 wire, the control center informs everybody. And then on the station emergency communication system, the word goes back out to station agents.
So do you think that it would be a wise investment to begin to install alarms in stations throughout the tunnels or throughout the underground stations throughout the city of New York, so that the public will understand that when they hear this sound means that there is some type of an emergency? They have to move from one point to another, as opposed to relying on the 6th wire talking to the 7th wire that's going to talk to the 5th wire.
Yeah, I actually do not think that would be cost effective. Also, one of the big problems we have at the Clark Street fire, in which a couple of people were killed, I think in 1993 or something like that, you always worry about self-evacuation, where people unload the train. And in that particular incident, had the train been moved out of the area more quickly, then the problem would have been solved. So when you've got a train with 2,000 or more people on it, the first and the best alternative is get that train out of the smoke condition as quickly as you can, even if it means having to wrong rail the train. In other words, moving it on the track that was on northbound, moving it southbound out of the smoke condition.
So just to play devil's advocate, post 9/11, is there a liability if I'm on a platform and a fire or some type of emergency is taking place, and I did not hear this man or this woman tell me to exit, and something happens to me? Is it a liability when they say, well, public buildings have fire alarms, private buildings have fire alarms, any type of structure or environment that the public is allowed to go through has some type of an emergency sound that indicates that there's something wrong? Is the transit authority, the MTA, liable for something that should take place because we don't have that in place?
I would hesitate to attempt to render a legal opinion. What I would say is that our system safety department looks constantly at all risks and evaluates the benefit cost measures with respect to dealing with those risks. In a station, the normal sequence of events is very light smoke, and then the smoke gets a little bit heavier, and very frankly, people usually self-evacuate. The place where the real danger exists, again, is people that are on the trains or people that self-evacuate the trains are in the tunnels and simply can't get out of harm's way quickly enough.
Thank you, brother.
This is a section of the subway map showing the location in Queens where the Jackson Avenue fan plant is going to be constructed. The subway lines being served are the R, the E and V, and the G. At this time, I'd like to give it back over to Ashok.
Thank you, Ken. As Ken mentioned, this particular fan plant at Jackson Avenue is going to serve not one, two, but three distinct tunnel segments. It's going to be serving E and V, which is the Queens Boulevard line, from 23rd Street Eli Avenue Station to Queens Plaza Station. Crosstown G line from Court Square Station to Queens Plaza, as well as R line from Queens Plaza up to Queens Portal. There are three existing fan plants, serving this individual tunnel segments. Each of these fan plants has a single fan. We're going to be demolishing these three fan plants because they are small enclosures. We're going to be building a new fan plant beneath Jackson Avenue, which is going to contain 4 larger fans. And we are doing that to make it cost economical. In this plan, you see a fan plant located beneath Jackson Avenue. It's between 44th Drive and Dutskill Street. The long tube-like structure that you see beneath 43rd Avenue, which we call it plenum, that's going to be providing ventilation to R-line track from the fan plant. Here is a typical tunnel cross-section that we see east of Court Square Station. Between 2 G-line track and directly above E-line track, we have a void space. We're going to be using that void space to really house the fan plant by enlarging that space. Here is the tunnel section that was taken lengthwise to show various components of the fan chamber. What you see in the red color are the mechanical equipment. We're going to have 4 250 horsepower, 150,000 cubic feet per minute fans installed at this location, a total capacity of 500,000 cubic feet per minute. We're going to have a series of dampers, as Ken mentioned, to move air into a particular track, and as well as to remove smoke from individual tracks onto the street. In addition to providing duct silencers mounted directly on the fans, we are also going to provide panel silencers that you see highlighted here to reduce the noise generated by operation of the fan, because this is a mixed-use neighborhood. On the left side, we have a control room that will be housing all of the control equipment, such as supervisory control panel for local and remote operation, as well as motor starters. And in the electrical distribution room at the far left, we're going to be housing service and distribution equipment to provide new service to this fan chamber.
Mr. Patel, can I ask you a question? Over here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Every month we get reports in the transit book about the condition of our existing fan plants, and I don't think we've been at 100% for quite some time now. What about this one is going to be different that's going to keep it operating versus some of the ones that we don't seem to be able to get operating?
The ones that are not operating are either out of service. So right now, with this contract, we'll take 3 out of service, and actually we'll put back 4. The other ones, it's just routine maintenance. Every month, the Department of Subways goes in and maintains fans. We don't have any that are out of service because they're in poor repair or something. They are taken out on a routine basis, and when we do take them out of service, we put in a fire watch. And both Steve File and I have to sign off on every fan that's taken out of service, and they put in place a fire watch. So it's not.
So when we see the statistic that shows 17 are not in operation or something, we've taken those 17 out deliberately?
They're either out because they're under construction. So right now you've got 30th Street, you have the CBS fan, you've got the
53rd Street.
53rd.
Yep.
They're taken out purposefully for reconstruction or for their maintenance cycle.
The number used to be very high. It used to be around 30, a few years back. The number has steadily gone down. We have fan plants. As of now, I believe there are only 3 fan plants that are out for maintenance, and the remaining ones are out for capital improvements.
And how often are they inspected? I'm sorry.
Fan plants are typically inspected once a month, except for under-river tunnels that are inspected twice a month.
Great, thank you.
I'm sorry. How much are the fans a part of our sort of immediate response to a fire condition? If you have a train with people in it and you have some kind of fire condition, and how much are they basically to clear the smoke out afterwards so that you can restore normal service? I mean, are they really what fixes the acute problem, or do you fix the acute problem by moving the train that has the people in it back up the track or something?
It's both. So up at the Rail Control Center, they know where the fire is. They give the direction of what fans, and actually the fans go in a push mode or a pull mode. So depending on where the fan is and where the fire is and where the train is, you direct which way that smoke should go. So it's coordinated. You don't want the train to operate in the direction that would take them into the smoke. So the fan and the train movements are all carefully controlled together. You can't do one without the other.
The other thing that's important to keep in mind is we're talking here as if we have complete coverage as they do at BART, and we do not. As a matter of fact,
I guess what I'm trying to get a grip on, quite honestly, is, this is obviously a significant investment, and the fan system is a significant investment. And, the fact that you have them in the under-river tunnels sounds vital to me. You don't have a whole lot of options if something goes wrong under the river. You don't have other ventilation. But in the scheme of things, it can sound all terribly dramatic, and oh my goodness, the fan isn't working at this moment. But what I'm trying to get a grip on is how much they actually relate to the kind of physical safety of the riding public, and how much they are, in fact, a desirable thing to have in terms of responding to a fire condition and getting the system back to normal, but that in fact, I mean, how frequently are they used, I guess is another thing I would ask. But are you getting me in terms of the acute response versus the it's a nice thing to have and it cleans things up faster?
There was a study done about 10 years ago that looked at the entire ventilation system in the tubes, and we can give you a briefing from that report and identified the higher risk segments of the system, and that's how we've prioritized our fan investments. But the fans, if you're lucky, they never get turned on. They have to be at the ready, but you never want to have to use those fans. If you're using those fans, it means you do have a dangerous condition down there. And the other thing is, I believe it's the fire department that actually, when we do have a fire emergency, that steps in, right? It's not police, it's fire?
Well, police and fire respond, but it's the fire department, obviously their responsibility. But let me answer your question a little bit more directly, Commissioner Page. If these were not needed for the acute condition, if we were not concerned about having 100 people killed in a subway fire, and given the trade-offs that we have in the capital budget right now, I would not recommend spending a penny on fan plants.
Is there any kind of legal mandate that that fans be installed?
Not to my knowledge.
No.
Can it pump fresh air into the system?
Yes.
Yes.
It can?
Yes.
So it could work to an advantage when it's 115 degrees outside one day and people are just like out of it. You could just pump cool fresh air into the system.
It is occasionally done, yes.
You know, I want to add something here, because this had been a concern of mine some time ago, and I spoke to a number of you about the fan plants. The study is 10 years old, and I think that it's also important to note that you've taken many other steps that have reduced the fire potential that we had 10 years ago. So it's not just a question of fan plants, it's a question of fan plants and the many other things that you've done to help address this issue. So I don't want us to get on a single topic. I think Mark's point is well taken, that in part because we have done those other things, that the risk is less now than it was when I first was concerned about it and spoke to you. So you should take a little credit for all those other good things you did as well.
Yeah, Connie has a small group also that looks at new technology. And one of the things that we were looking at about 6 months ago was installing a robot, basically, system in the tunnels that would detect fires, move to the fire, and put the fire out. That turned out that did not appear to be a feasible idea. The inventor that we were dealing with, I think, ended up doing a prototype for bridges instead of subway tunnels. But if we had something like that, then we would have no need again for vent plants at all. The natural ventilation would be fine, and we'd be sure that any fire that started was quickly dealt with. The other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of the fires are trash on the track, but we also have insulators on the third rail that catch on fire and burn, particularly when they have salty water infiltration. You can have a component on the train itself catch on fire. So we have a number of sources of fire, and as you say, and appreciate the compliment, we are dealing with things on a case-by-case basis. The overall numbers are going down, but at the same time, anytime my BlackBerry goes off and I see there's a fire condition somewhere on the subway, I'm waiting for the next report to indicate how serious in fact it is. We also have fires sometimes that we simply do not discover the reason for it. About 7 or 8 months ago, we had a fire sort of in the Bowling Green, Wall Street area, and the train operators reported operating through fairly heavy smoke. We sent people down there. The smoke cleared up, and we could not really figure out what the source of the fire was. But it is next to derailments. It is the nightmare of every transit manager.
Okay. In the next couple of slides, I'm going to show schematic as to how fresh air is supplied to the tunnel, or smoke gets exhausted out to the street. In a supply mode, essentially fan pushes the air to individual tunnel segments, as it is shown here. And doesn't want to change it. Yeah, Tom. Okay. Okay. In the exhaust mode, it exactly does opposite of that. Smoke gets evacuated from individual tunnel segments onto the street level. Okay. Now on to the risk assessment. The purpose of the risk assessment was to really confirm our confidence in the project cost estimates and schedule that we had developed during design phase. It also helped us identify and mitigate those risks to the schedule and budget to the extent feasible, and all the residual risks were identified that we're going to be dealing with during construction phase. And ultimately, it helps us ensure a clear path to successful project delivery. Before I turn it over to John to present the results of the risk assessment, I wanted to go over quickly some of the lessons learned that we have implemented in the program here. These lessons learned over the years have helped us mitigate some of the risk that we have dealt with through this risk assessment. As you may know, in the past, we had several issues related to fan performance. Fan used to fail during testing phase and caused us delay in the completion of the project. Over the years, we have identified those issues and done an analysis, and based on that, we have made certain improvements that were incorporated in the specification. We also do a thorough factory testing on all of our fan plant and major equipment, so that we can avoid major failures during the testing at the site, which can cause significant delay. Testing and acceptance issues. We had problems in the past, again, with the testing. We have tried to standardize those. One of the major changes that we have made in the last few years is to perform control software programming in-house. We used to have vendors, and typically these are small vendors. Today they are here, tomorrow they may not be there, smaller firms. So we have developed a core competency within our group, and we do the programming, so it's standardized from fan plant to fan plant. So it really helps us reduce the amount of time it takes to troubleshoot if there is a problem. We have also standardized the shakedown test that we do it on every single fan plant before we do a formal testing to avoid any last-minute surprises. One of the other issues that marred our program in the past was getting Con Edison service energized on time. What we have done in the recent past is to really perform some of the work as part of our contract, as opposed to paying Con Edison that would go out and hire a subcontractor to get this work performed. This way we can coordinate the work very closely and avoid any costly delays. Fan plant inherently has a lot of street excavation because most of our fan plants are underground. And in order to reduce the amount of issues during construction, we do very close coordination with DOT. We also develop a comprehensive phasing plan and a maintenance and protection of traffic plan that we submitted to DOT upfront so that we don't have surprises later on. We also gone out of our way and done extensive surveys during design phase. We do extensive test pits to identify utilities, because in the past we had problems where we go and excavate the street and we find unidentified utilities. So this has also helped us reduce some of the delays that we had in the past. And lastly, work related to right-of-way. This particular item we had caused us a lot of delays in the past because we have to work around the operating railroads. So rather than impacting the railroad operation or impacting our project because of operation of the railroad itself, we decided to use track shielding to the extent possible. Essentially what we do is we isolate our area from the operating railroad and work off as much as possible so that we don't have to impact the operation of the railroad. As I mentioned, the project was awarded recently on June 15th. The bid amount was $56.85 million. With a 39 months duration, the substantial completion is scheduled for September 15th, and the lowest bidder was Jetlaw Contracting. Interesting point to note here is that we had two contractors who bidded on this project very closely. They were within $600,000, and both of these contractors has recently worked on our fan plan program. So what I'm gathering is that this risk reduction strategy is working, and our contractors see a fewer risk in our projects. With that, I'm going to turn it over to John.
Thank you, Ashok, and good afternoon. My name is John Pantelidis, and this table shows the total project cost results as well as duration results of the risk assessment. When we started the risk assessment process, our base estimate, which includes the bid, TA labor, construction administration cost, as well as utility and traffic agent costs, it was up $88 million. Through the process, we identified savings of about $4 million. So we revised our estimate to approximately $84 million, which is shown as a revised estimate. As Ashok mentioned, though, in the past we had bad experiences in the fan plan program, and we have taken mitigations, corrective actions to mitigate a lot of those risks. And the results were shown in the bids that we got. Like Ashok said, our low bid was $57 million, which resulted to an overall cost of $73 million, which is about $11 million savings from our revised base estimate. Our fan plan performance, schedule performance also improved, and I'd like to mention that our 30th Street fan plan, we are expecting that to finish approximately 6 to 8 months ahead of schedule. And we believe that's an indication of recent experience and the mitigations we have taken over the last several years to correct some of our issues. With regards to the duration, our base schedule was 39 months, and risk assessment shows that there is an 80% confidence that this will not exceed 41 and a half months, which is about approximately 2.5 months more than our base schedule. The next several tables show, even though we did take risk, construction is risk, it's a risky business, there are still risks that we tend to, and mitigation that we tend to implement during the construction phase in order to assure a successful project on schedule and within budget. And this table shows some of the risks and mitigations that we will be implementing during our construction phase. Ashok?
Okay, thanks, John. As you can see, we were able to confirm our confidence in project cost and schedule. We have mitigated the risk to budget and schedule to the extent possible, and we have a residual risk that was identified in the last two tables that we're going to keep in mind as we move through the construction. The assessment was considered a success, and we are in fact planning to perform additional risk assessment on the future fan plan program, fan plans. As a matter of fact, we are performing a risk assessment on one of the ongoing design project for 55th Street and 8th Avenue fan plant. And that concludes our presentation. Thanks.
Thank you, gentlemen. That was very good. Anybody have any comments, questions? You're going to let them get off lightly today. Okay, thank you so much. All right, next we have the program office semi-annual update of on division of stations. Who's going to do that?
We have no formal presentation, but there are some comments that McKissick and Delcan would like to present to you.
Okay, Mike, you're on.
It's a rather large program. Just a few comments that are worth mentioning. Go on to excellent, one more. Okay, the East 180th Street station and the Mott Avenue station projects both recently had very favorable bid opening results and could potentially lead to savings on the order of $20 million for the East 180th and $6 million on the Mott Avenue station. Our concern is that the forecasted award, September and August of 2009, may be in jeopardy if the plan amendment is not approved. Now, both of these projects are slotted for scheduled general orders and the like, and all of the resources necessary to execute those two projects in a timely manner could be in jeopardy if the plan amendment is not approved. So the recommendation to New York City Transit is, if it is not approved, take a look at what the impact might be and do whatever you can to help achieve those savings as a result of those very favorable bids. Okay, the next one is on the 59th Street Columbus Circle project, a project that's under construction. Two areas of concern that are related. The first one is in the area of budget. We think that there could be a budget exposure of an additional $1.4 million if the project schedule should slip from November of this year to first quarter of next year. And in fact, next slide, that is another concern that we have is based on the completion to date. We believe it's more likely that the project will be completed in early second quarter of 2010. We recognize New York City Transit's working with the contractor to get that complete in this year and thus mitigate both the schedule and the budget impacts.
Mike?
Yes.
Are you, wow, this is loud all of a sudden. Are you suggesting that the delay to 59th Street is strictly the street treatment problem or some other problem?
I think it's a combination. The street treatment, of course, is a scope of work that was added to the project during construction, so that certainly contributed, probably the lion's share. And the balance of the change orders on this project have been relatively small. But as we are today, a November completion is just a little bit optimistic. That's all.
Excuse me, Mike.
Yes.
Just so that I understand, in terms of when the plan amendment, that's the Albany, the Capital Review Committee of the legislature?
That's correct.
Okay, and is there any chance that this is going to actually get approved in the near future?
We're very hopeful. We resubmitted the amendment. We've gone up there and given a briefing. We followed up with some further documents that were asked for. So I'm waiting to hear if there are any questions that come out of that follow-up, but we're very hopeful.
Not having been through this process before, how typically quickly does, under normal situation, this group approve things?
It's hard, frankly, to answer that. The amendments, this was, if you remember, we brought this before the board a year ago. It was a very comprehensive amendment. We do them typically once a year. The board struggled with this, and if I remember correctly, we might have taken 2 cycles between briefings and other things. CPRB members had seen elements of this amendment and, in fact, had approved parts of it. What we made clear were the projects at risk now. So CPRB understands the stations projects that have very good bids and are at risk, as well as some of the other projects that are at risk. And I think that given the timing and given some of the concerns that CPRB members had previously were concerns similar to what the board had, which were stations projects that were otherwise going to have to be reprogrammed. So the fact that we were able to use ARA funds, stimulus funds, to pick up some of those stations projects, I think is a reassuring component this time for the amendment. So that's the other reason that I feel more optimistic. So we'll see. It's anybody's guess, though.
I would add the staff has done everything it can to make this happen, but you all know what the status of Albany is, so that's why we're all a little nervous.
Yeah, it kind of dawned on me, and this is the first time I'm through this cycle because I only came on the board a year ago, as to this quote unquote kind of essentially give and take or quasi oversight as to what we do, and it brings to mind the situation with the new legislation in terms of projects that there's some that want to have reviewed by the state controller's office, and what a nightmare of a scenario that would be with the number of transactions that go through this entity were that to take place. So I thought I would just inquire a little. Thank you.
Looks like that piece of legislation will be signed. Continue, please. What else we got?
Next slide. Just 2 areas of concern in the elevators and escalators program. First one revolves around the replacement of 3 escalators in southern Manhattan. It's Bowery, Whitehall, and East Broadway, and 2 escalators in the Roosevelt Avenue station. Having completed the preliminary engineering, the project is now being deferred. And so this is just an early warning comment on our part. It was in the queue for final design. Take a look at what impacts there may be as a result of this deferral. And the last one, 2 ADA projects. New York City Transit has a voluntary commitment to a 2013 ADA compliance commitment, and the start of preliminary engineering has been delayed on both of these projects. They're both tied to the capital plan amendment as well. And again, just another early warning signal here to take a look at what the impacts might be in terms of their ability to meet the 2013 compliance commitment. Mr. Chairman, that summarizes my report today.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? We're still new at this, but you can understand that this is a different system than we've had in place before, where the outside engineer, independent engineer, actually gets involved at the beginning and tries to help us so that they don't come back in and play gotcha at the end. They're doing what I think they ought to do, which is help us all the way through so we work as a team and get the best outcome possible. Doreen?
Just a question on the schedule delay for the 3 escalators in southern Manhattan. There's no reason specified for that. Was that a funding issue, or is it just design?
No, it's just, since we have so many projects, we wanted just to defer the final design on those 2 projects. And there are no cost impact, there are no issues at all. We just deferred the final the final completion of the design.
Mike, anything else? Anybody? Anything else? Otherwise, call for adjournment. Move. Second. Anybody against? So move. We're going to have audit in 2-3 minutes. Right? Oh, sorry, 1:15. Tried to move it up.